There we go. All right, was good. All right, so this is going to be the one on n8n. Just a quick overview, just so you guys can see. And with that being said, like most softwares all kind of have a very similar interface, right? Um, you're going to have a lot of the stuff off to the left here, control settings. Then we get into start building. Sometimes they'll be over here. So just know that like most platforms, like literally are structured the same way just to kind of keep things easy. Some of you may know that. Some of you may be rather new and have no technical real experience with this type of stuff. Remember, don't let it stress you out. Um, because they're all very similar, right? So this is n8n. You'll get in here. You'll see some of the automations. If you haven't built anything, this will be completely blank. Um, kind of got your personal, and then you've just got home in general where you can kind of see some analytics. Again, you're not spending too much time here, but credentials. In a previous video, I talked about setting up all these accounts with Google, because once you start building these things out and you need to send something to a Google Calendar, this and that, credentials are basically just the authorization to connect to these softwares, right? So you don't even have to come in here and set them up. You can do that when you're building stuff out. You'll see that when we start doing that. But again, for your cells and for each client, again, you're gonna you're going to create separate accounts for your clients so that they have their own n8n account, so that down the road they own it outright, and you don't have 25 different clients that you're trying to juggle all these workflows in your account, right? So that's something that we'll cover as well. But that's what credentials are. Executions, I talked about this also in a previous one. I learned a hard lesson real quick with a client when they were making like 17,000 calls and inbound and outbound. An execution is when a node needs to perform something. So if we go into here real quick, and again, none of this stuff is scripted, so it might be a little all over the place, but I think you guys are smart enough to kind of get the gist of it. So each one of these is a node, right? Webhook. So let's go to an easier one. That was a little complex one I'm building for e-commerce. So every time a webhook, so a webhook triggers a call at Retell, that's one execution, right? Then once it moves through to this one, that's one execution, right? So what we're doing is like multiple calls happening, and then all of a sudden the workflow turned off, and I have the client text me like, "Hey, what's going on? It's not working anymore." And I didn't know this, that it doesn't auto renew or upgrade. So we had to go in and upgrade to the next subscription in n8n. That's why I'm saying self-hosting it on Hostinger, which I showed you guys in a previous one. So if you didn't see that, go back to it. You get unlimited executions. So you can run these all day without getting charged for it. That's where n8n is going to kind of upcharge everybody and upsell you on, which isn't a problem. If you prefer, your client prefers to have everything hosted on their clouds, by all means, there are some security benefits to that, but nothing that's going to make a huge difference, especially with some of the security things and measures that we put in place now. We don't have to really like depend on paying ridiculous amounts of money to n8n. So again, don't let that confuse you. Just know that a node is basically this right here, a set of instructions per something, right? And this is why I say this is the glue to everything. This is a GHL template that we use. We'll get into this in a little bit, but that gives you an idea on what an execution it is and the pros and cons to self-hosting versus hosting on the n8n cloud, right? So executions you can see in here. Data tables is new, so this is kind of like Google Sheets. I don't really play around with it. I'm kind of old school, so I'm using Google Sheets anyways. But this is just like the exact kind of thing that you can use inside of here. Okay, yeah. So other than that, I mean, off to the left down here, I know these are kind of small for you guys to see. It's just your simple stuff like your notifications if you need some help, your insights, and then your templates right here. So to create a workflow, it's rather easy. You just drop this down, or you just create a workflow. It brings you to a blank page like this, and then we can start building, right? Which I'm not going to do. I'll just show you guys, like I said, off to the right, you'll have another section of things that you can select and choose from. And then this is kind of what n8n looks like. Again, this is where most people get confused. I'm going to show you exactly step by step, click by click, how to get familiar with it and how to set the workflows up that we're going to need. You are going to get lost in some of this. Even if I show you click by click, you're going to get errors. Again, that's why I say you need like Claude, ChatGPT, because we use a four-step system to troubleshoot anything that goes on that you need to fix. And once you kind of understand the foundational of how to fix these things and how they work, it makes it a lot easier. But that's where most people get hung up and just quit, is they're like, I can't even figure out how n8n. Trust me, I spent more time troubleshooting than it was worth. But just by going through that, you learn so much. So just keep that in mind. You're going to go through shit that's going to be so confusing. You'll spend an hour or two with Claude going back and forth, and sometimes they can't even, so don't get stressed out. Just know it's going to happen. The better we can prepare you for that, the better off you're going to be. Because sometimes under that pressure, that's where the real stress happens, right? For now, nothing too complicated. If you have like a template, you'll come up here and import from file, from URL. If you have one that you built that you want to save and put in your like own folder for later with a different client, you can download it. Anyways, this is kind of self-explanatory. But it's important because there's a lot of people out there like, just steal my template, upload it. Like, that stuff's cool and it does save you a lot of time, unless you have a developer or, which we'll kind of cover that in some other modules. You definitely want to understand kind of the basics to n8n, because this skill set alone is super powerful. It's just like learning how to use Facebook ads and run the ads manager back when that was like a huge thing, or, yada, yada. So just keep that in mind. This is what it looks like. Super, super transparent, super easy. But yeah, there's really nothing too crazy that I need to show you here, but we'll cover what you need to know to kind of get things rolling in the more advanced workflow build out. So anyways, see you guys in the next one.